Be covering the second last E.G.O of Meursault, and that is going to be Pursuance. Pursuance is actually a pretty old E.G.O as it was on launch, but it's a heal E.G.O with 26 base, plus 8 roll, blunt damage, and attack of 3. So a pretty good roll, rolling a 24, or a 34 I should say. After attack, heal 2 other allies with least HP for 30% of the max HP apply to protection next turn. Pretty good if you're trying to keep your allies alive, which, I mean, you are, and that's the name of the game. And on hit, you trigger Tremor Burst. So, not that surprising. You're a blunt damage dealer. You're gonna be most likely bursting the Tremor, right? And you do. But the passive of this E.G.O is called Revelations from Above. After winning a clash, with the leftmost skill on the dashboard, apply 1 attack power up or 1 defense power up to a random ally next turn, which is pretty darn good. But passive, I would say, pretty good. Awakening, pretty good passive. Man, I hope the corrosion can hold up to that. But before we get to the corrosion, we're going to be covering how much it costs, and it's going to be costing a actual decent amount of sanity, right? It's pretty cheap for sanity, right? 20 instead of 25, pretty good. And you're going to be coughing up 4 sloth, 1 gloom, and 2 pride resources, which is 7. So that's all right, I guess, on the scale of priciness. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's not the most expensive by far. And your resistances are going to be changed to Fatal to the Lust, Ineffective to Sloth, Fatal to Gluttony, and Ineffective to, or Endured I should say, to Pride. When you crow this E.G.O, you're going to get a 34 roll with a negative 8 coin, blunt damage, and attack with a 3, right? Negative coins on his corrosions are always pretty good. After attack, apply 2 for agility, 3 damage up next turn to 2 allies with least amount of HP, and on hit trigger Tremor Burst. I don't like this. The roll is alright, right? The attack with is alright, but you don't want fragile next turn on your allies. You really, really don't. That's pretty bad. But, I mean, at least it makes up for it with having everything else would have been pretty good. And that definitely doesn't stop when it comes to the drip, because it is, well, infamously the drippiest E.G.O in Limbus company, even better than Rhodion's. And I gotta say, I gotta give it a 11 out of 10, relatively easily, right? I like the awakening, it's just solid, amazing. And the corrosion, well, the corrosion quite reminds me of Eon's distortion, right? From the Library Arena, which, I mean, makes sense, right? I think these are both based off of prescripts, right? They both got hands detached from their bodies, but still. And the strength of E.G.O is not necessarily the best. It's not meant for damage. Has a pretty good roll, I guess, and you can give your allies attack power up, you can give them damage up. So I guess it's pretty alright for damage. Give it like a 6.5, right? You don't want to use it for damage because corrosion, you'll gain damage, but you'll also make yourself really weak, so it's not really worth using for damage. And usefulness of this E.G.O, I mean, I gotta say, pretty easy 10, right? You're gonna be gaining a lot of health from this, a lot of protection. You're gonna make yourself either stronger or have better blocks, which is pretty good. You're also not using that much sanity, right? I mean, the resistances, obviously, they're not VOVs, they're not A-left, so they're not that good. But still, they could be worse. So, all in all, I gotta say 10 for your usefulness. And that's about it for this E.G.O, but I gotta say, it's really nice reviewing a release E.G.O after reviewing a recent E.G.O. Oh, the recent E.G.Os, oh my golly, lines and lines and lines and lines of freaking text. But on Pursuance, what's there to read? Heal, protection, burst tremor. I love it. But until next time, have a good one.